Now then, and up into Wilders. Tom here. I hope you're all doing well. And I just wanted to say, I know Rosie said it in her last couple of videos, Happy New Year. It's good to see you. We're missing getting out, Rosie and I. But as Rosie explained, we've got to go along with what is happening. Hope everyone's managing to keep safe and keep yourselves busy. But that is what we are here for, to give you some different ideas of ways you can both entertain yourself in lockdown and also do some great stuff for wildlife. So I am here in a very dreary Bramley in my garden, and I'm holding something in this hand that I'm sure you're all very familiar with, and I'm hoping some of you have still got hanging around in your gardens. I am of course talking about your old Christmas trees. So I am going to show you a little trick that we can do with your Christmas trees to turn them into some fantastic wildlife habitat. So most people either take them to their skips, or we put them in our bins. This is a way that you can keep it around a little bit smaller and do something great for your wildlife. So let's check out. So for this activity, we are going to need to be outside. We're going to need to have some tools, and if you are a little one, you're going to have to have a grown-up with you, because we're going to be using some pretty dicey tools, some things that can be really dangerous. So I'm going to show you some examples of things you might have hanging around at home, and then show you what I'm going to be using to do my tree. So for this, we're just going to need sharp stuff and a lot of care. So if hanging around at home you have got a saw, something like this is absolutely fine. Careful all the time. And also for some parts of it as well, we're possibly going to need another sharp striking implement, like an axe or other things. So I have probably mentioned in some of our videos before, I do some volunteering with the local coppice workers, so I'm going to be using my coppicing tools, because essentially what we're doing is exactly the same as we do when we're out coppicing. So I'm just going to use, you might have one of these at home, it's just slightly easier to use than a regular saw. I'm going to be using my pruning saw. Because I've got one to hand as well, rather than the axe, I'm also going to be using my bill hook. So this is a coppice worker's tool. It looks pretty lethal, and I suppose it is if you're not careful with it, but it's absolutely fantastic for the job we are about to do. So I'm going to get processing this tree. I'll speak to you in a tick. So I've got my tree here. What I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to turn it upside down, and I'm going to start work with the pruning saw, just getting some of these bits out of the way, and then if I get to some sort of gnarly pieces and pieces that are a bit more sort of difficult, I'm going to come in with the bill hook and just working down. I'm going to chop my way down the tree like this. Okay, just going to let all the pieces fall down, and then we'll look at what to do with them next. I'm going to crack on with this. That bit. So what we are left with is, looks like a bit of a mess. We are essentially left with just the trunk of the tree. I've taken the top bit off, and as you can see on the ground, this what appears to be just kind of a bit of a mess of all the fronds and branches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to collect those up, and what we're going to do is we're going to collect them this way around. Okay, I'm going to collect them all up, so starting holding at the stem with all of the pieces sort of coming up like this, and I'm going to collect them all up sort of flat together. So I'm just going to crack on with that. Right, mess dealt with. We've now collected most of our fronds up, all the larger pieces. There's the odd little piece left on the floor, which is fine, we can leave that, that'll go to nature. So as you can see, laid out here, I've got a wonderful array of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 little stacks of all the branches and fronds together. So what I've done is I've started with some of the larger sort of bottom sections of the tree underneath at the bottom of the pile, and then working up maybe 5 or 6 sort of branches per pile, so that the smaller branches are at the top. Okay, so essentially what these are going to be are the outer layer of our bug house. We're now going to go ahead and make the centerpiece, which, you guessed it, we're going to be using the trunk. And I'd say what I like to do is I like to check out how sort of tall the sections are that I've piled up. So I'm just going to lay the trunk across the sort of largest one of them, and then what I'm going to do, as you can see there, is you've got the top to the bottom of the pile here. So I'm going to cut this log into sections of just over a foot, okay? And I reckon I'll probably get 3 good pieces out of that. So I'm going to crack on with that. Right, I'm here at my impromptu workbench, which, like everything in my garden, used to be something else. My garden is a haven of pre-existing, pre-loved bits and bats that I've rehashed together. So I'm using an old dining chair, and this is going to work as my workbench, just to hold the trunk in place whilst I saw it. So, like we said, we're going to cut this one off just over a foot, about here by this nodule. So saw out, watch your fingers. I always start with a little undercut because that stops any of the bark tearing off when we get to the bottom. And there you have 3 relatively even pieces. They're going to come together like that, or like that, more like, and they are going to form the centre of our bug house. I'm just going to go get some paracord and we can start piecing this together. So I'm here, I've arranged all of my little piles around me, and I went to get some paracord, but I changed my mind when I got there, because this is all about reducing and reusing. So in amongst my little paracord pack, I found this, and it's one of the old pulleys for a set of Venetian blinds that were in this house when we first moved in nearly 7 years ago. But look, perfect, absolutely just what we want. I'm not using anything too thin. I'm not using any sort of I'm not using cotton string, because that won't be strong enough, and I'm not using things like fishing wire or twine, because they could much more likely to get things entangled. And the idea with this is it's a bit thicker, it can be seen a little bit easier, and it's just going to bind our house together. So it'll actually come off after a year or so, because we want it just to be able to hold it together, mainly for the construction. So I'm going to lay it across my impromptu workbench here. I'm going to start with one of the larger piles. So this is the largest pile that I've got, and I'm going to pop this on the bottom there. I'm then going to take my centerpieces. Now, if you wanted to, I'm not going to, but if you did want to, what you could do is you could add some, if you've got some other little bits of log and stuff hanging around, you could add those in here as well. I'm not going to, just because I'm making the video. And I've only just thought of it, to be honest. I'm going to take the centre of the tree, where the crown would have been, I'm going to, the crown, where the star would have been. I'm going to fold that up into there. I'm then going to take the next biggest pile, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lie this in the opposite direction, so with the cut twigs at this side this time. Okay, then I'm going to take the next biggest pile, and so on and so forth. I think you get the picture, and if I need to, I'm going to start pulling these round just to hold it in place. Okay. Guys, so here we have it. We have got our lovely little Christmas tree habitat. Now it looks a little bit untidy, but that is absolutely fine. So we're going to now find a little corner of the garden to place it in. And then over time this will rot down, things can find their way into here and they can make it their home for overwintering or laying their eggs. Okay guys, so I just wanted to come and show you where I've placed mine. I'm just coming into the A-frame of my children's swing here, and we're right down the bottom end of my garden. We've got the chicken coop behind me, the children's playhouse, and then we've got the swing. And actually, as you can see here, I have placed the new Christmas tree bug house actually next to it. Now as you can see, this is a bug house from about 4 years ago. It's our Christmas tree from about 4 years ago. As you can see, it's rotted down a little bit, and what it's got is where the needles are, you've got a really tight, cozy sort of mesh of rotting wood, of rotting pine needles, and it's a great little spot. Oh, we've had a robin come on the feeder. Don't know if you can see him there. Absolutely lovely. Yeah, it's a great little area for wildlife. Now, depending on where you are in the country, different things are going to use these. This is mostly going to be used for invertebrates, and possibly some of the small amphibians from my pond might come in here. It'll be a great spot for things like slow worms and grass snakes, depending where you are in the country. Not something I've ever had in my garden. But guys, look, what I always say is if it's not there, it's not going to get used. But if it's there, it might. And these are just a great little idea. Not maybe the tidiest looking thing, but you can hide them anywhere in your garden. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Please do like and subscribe to Rosie and my channel on Into Wild. Keep watching, and also leave any comments below. If you want any information, just get in touch with us. And also leave some videos or photos of your very own Christmas tree bug houses, and I'll see you next time. Bye.